Before we start, I just want to preface everything that I say here with the fact that I am not a React.js programmer. I've built a couple of small tutorial type apps with React.js, but that's it. I am an experienced developer though, so I should be able to get something up and running, something impressive up and running, I hope, with V0 if it's any good. Let's give it a shot. For me, Cursor is the gold standard right now. It's the best tool I've found, and until I find something better, I've got to compare everything that I try to Cursor. You can find V0 at v0.dev. V0 is an AI-powered design tool for generating React.js components and web interfaces. It was created by Vercel, which also created Next.js. And Next.js is a server wrapper around React.js that makes React better, I guess is the best way to describe it. It does optimization, server-side rendering, routing, and a lot more for React.js. And I think since V0 only does Next.js and they created Next.js, I think it should do it pretty well. They have a couple of starter and app templates available, but I haven't tested any of those. Some of them might be useful if you're planning to use shadcn, for example, though. I imagine you could specify that in your prompt and still be fine. Now let's look at the prompt that I wrote for this. I want to build a real simple job board. The twist is I want to build this as a module that other companies could style to make it look like their own. That is a bit of a curve. I want to see how V0 will handle it, or if it'll act like Cursor and just ignore some of the prompt. So each item needs to be individually styled with a CSS class instead of using a framework like Tailwind or Bootstrap. And for this first prompt, I want to focus on the job listings. I want to track things like the job title, the address where the person will be working, but that could be blank if it is a fully remote position. I want to track the job location type like in-person only, hybrid, or remote. I want to track employment type, full-time, part-time, contract, or contract to hire. If it is a contract or a contract to hire, we need to know how long the contract period is for. And I also want to track an optional required education level and an optional required education degree. I want to track the salary and measurement of salary, such as per hour or per year. I want to know when the job was posted, when it's going to expire, and whether or not this job was posted by an agency or as an internal job posting. And I also want to give the customer an option to track this with an internal job identifier. Hopefully this will help later on if you want to allow the company to update the postings, and why wouldn't you? Okay, let's see what we get from that. The requirements are a bit vague, but specific enough to start this creation process, I think. So V0 doesn't use a web-based version of code like bolt.new does. That might be disappointing or not. You don't get your add-ins. I'm just not sure. Since they're only doing one thing, maybe it won't be as important. Okay, the generation's done. And the site renders automatically. I'm actually surprised it does render, no errors. It looks decent, plain but good. I got what I asked for. Next, I want to add some functionality to see how it handles it. Allow the user to filter job results using the location, title, when it was posted, or the salary amount. I also think we need more job postings if we want to test this filtering functionality. 2 is just not enough, especially since all the job postings it created were all from 2023. We needed something a little more recent to filter correctly. I like the very visual indicators that are happening when the code creation process is happening. The tabs change automatically. The code is laid out. The V0 logo is also animated. I like that. Cursor gives you 3 dots that you can stare at. Not so good. As V0 is running and generating all this code, let's talk about the V0 UI a bit. At the top right, there's several different options that are pretty helpful. First, you can go to previous versions or next versions of the code so you can toggle back and forth in history. You can add the code base, which will let you download the entire app that was created as a zip. Then there's a fork button, which creates a copy of this project inside of V0. There's a share button so that you can make this chat public. And last, you can actually deploy this directly to Vercel. That's probably a pretty important option for business type users, less so for developers, I think. If you try it out, please let me know. I've not tried, so I don't know. All in all, though, pretty awesome. Lots of functionality in that little toolbar. So the expiration dates are before the posted dates. That's weird, but I didn't include that in my prompts, so that's on me. And here's your friendly reminder to like and subscribe. We post new videos often for software developers, software engineers, and software architects. Thanks. The filtering is pretty sharp. You don't have to press a button. It filters as you type. That might be more problematic when the results are coming from a back end because of latency. But it's sharp. It's nice. All the filters work. That's definitely a positive. So far, I actually think I'm pretty impressed. The UI is good, and based on the limited prompts that I gave, it's actually very good. Everything works, which is more than you can say for many of the Gen AI coding tools out there. Now I want to take a look at the code starting with the CSS. It did follow instructions. It looks like every UI element is individually styled as I would expect. The CSS is pretty clean too. I didn't see a bunch of extra stuff, just clean and straightforward. The CSS is also created alongside the components, which is also what I would expect. The job listing model interface is simple and has everything you need in one location. These values would probably be better as an enum perhaps, but not entirely bad based off of this very small app and the prompts I gave it. The index component is storing the job listings data, but it did have to go somewhere, and having a service at this point is probably overkill. The home page is using the job board component. The job board handles filtering, which is correct in my opinion. It is using use memo. This could be good or bad. I think in this case it's okay. The filtering operation is the only thing that would cause re-renders at this point. The job board component renders the filtering component and the job listings cards. Okay, so I'm pretty impressed. This code is all very clean and concise. It's definitely as clean or cleaner than the code I would write myself. It's probably cleaner since I'm not an experienced React.js dev. There's still problems with the UI, like the way the job cards are rendering inconsistently. Still though, it's very good. I think this would be the perfect tool in many cases. I could definitely see myself using this as a rapid prototyping tool at the start of a project to later download and fully flesh out, maybe with Cursor. Very nice. I think all in all, I would give this probably 4 out of 5 stars. Not that I'm in the habit of rating tools like this, but if I was, I think 4 out of 5 would be a pretty good score. It does what it's supposed to do, and it does it very well. Until next time, happy coding.